One, two, three, four. The Brutally Delicious Podcast. The Brutally Delicious Podcast. The Brutally Delicious Podcast. The Brutally Delicious Podcast.
Hello, I'm Brian Tatler from Diamond Head, and you're listening to the Brutally Delicious Podcast.
Perfect. You got it in one take.
Yeah.
All right. Diamond Head has been around longer than I've been alive. And if you had if you had to pick one song from your catalog to introduce this generation to your sound, what would that one song be?
I guess it would be Am I Evil? I know it's probably a bit obvious, but it does have it all, that song. It's got a big riff, big chorus, big guitar solo. It's got lots of dynamics, which I came to appreciate. Very hard to achieve, very difficult to write a song with lots of dynamics. I always think Led Zeppelin were the masters of dynamics, and probably took a leaf out of their book. But Am I Evil just works live, works on record, and of course it's been covered by the biggest heavy metal band of all time.
Your new live album comes out here in July. What do you think makes this album different than, say, some other live albums that are going to come out this year?
Well, I mean, the difference is it's a Diamond Head album and it's got Diamond Head songs on it, so it's massively different. But I don't know. I mean, it was recorded live and on the road. We managed to record lots of different shows, which we've never been able to do before. Because this is our first live album for 20 years. The technology wasn't around back in the day, so we would have recorded on a mobile unit or something. It would have gone onto 2-inch tape, analog tape, and we'd only record one gig. It would have been prearranged. Right, we're going to record the Astoria, or we were going to record, some live show somewhere. Very often London, funnily enough. So this time we were able to record 14 nights on a tour and really relax into it, not be pressurized, because we would think, normally if you're doing a live show and it's being recorded, you're under pressure, you think it might make a mistake and the singer's voice might be a little tight. Everybody's probably playing too fast. But this time you're thinking, well, okay, well, if tonight doesn't go perfectly, there's always tomorrow. So yeah.
You mentioned being on the road a lot. Who would you say is the craziest crowd that you've ever had?
I remember a gig in San Francisco at the Elbow Room. It was sold out and it was absolutely rammed. And it was a low stage, and they were right in front of us going berserk. And I was thinking, wow, this crowd's really lively. And I thought, if they are going mad now, what are they going to do when we play Am I Evil? Because that is always the one. We always save that for the last song, or possibly even the encore. Because it's like a slam dunk, and if that doesn't get you, then we're not the band for you. So yeah, I remember thinking that, and I think actually one of the reasons it was sold out and so crazy was because there'd been a rumor that Lars Ulrich might turn up and jam with Diamond. Might get up and do a song. I mean, we didn't start that rumor, but I remember it happening. And just thought, oh well, we've sold it out, so no harm done.
What do you think would have happened if Lars did come out on stage at the end of the show or something?
Well, it would have been even more crazy, wouldn't it? You know, a hometown show, really, San Francisco for Lars, and but you could understand why the rumor must have, perpetuated itself. But he didn't. I mean, there was no plans for him to turn up. We just happened to be playing San Francisco. People put two and two together and thought, "Oh, Diamond are playing San Francisco. Maybe Lars will turn up." And I mean, it was great. But I can definitely remember the energy coming off the crowds was something else. The crowd, not crowds. My mistake.
You know, you've influenced so many bands over the years. If you could give a piece of advice to, say, a young band who idolizes Diamond Head, what would that piece of advice be?
I've done this already. I've already spoke to a few, young bands, young musicians who look to me for some kind of magical advice that may just help their career. But I always say, write songs. I think it's all well and good being a great player, but if you can't write songs, you need to start. You need to make. You need songs. I think it's the lifeblood of the industry. Without songs, Diamond Head is all about songs. I think Saxon's all about songs. Metallica is all about songs. If you haven't got the songs, that people won't come. I don't think they can sing along. They want to enjoy the show. They want to go, "Oh, I love this song. This means something to me." So I always say that to them. It's not about practice more. Do 6. If you're doing 4 hours a day, do 6 hours a day. It's not that. It's try and write songs. It's the first thing that Diamond Head did when we formed in 1976 in the bedroom of my mum and dad's house with a biscuit tin drum kit and my brother's guitar. The first thing we tried to do was write songs. We didn't play covers. We came up with our own basic dirges with, just bar chords, do 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 or something, and tried to write songs, and we were pretty good at it. We came up with stuff straight away. We didn't draw a blank, and we used to record them straight onto cassette and listen back to them and analyze them, and we got better and better at it. And that for the first 4 or 5 years of our career, that's what we did. Just write songs every week. Keep writing. And I think that's the advice I'd give. Work on your songs.
Of those first few songs that you recorded on cassette back in the day, what was the first one that made you think that we have something here?
I think it's Electric. That was probably song 30, something like that, 30, 40, maybe. I forget, maybe 40. And that one came together, and it was kind of inspired by AC/DC. But I remember thinking that was good, and it worked well live. We played live. We only didn't do that many gigs in the early days. Our first gig was in 1977, and then we did a couple in 78, and then more so in 79. But yeah, we had a song called Wild on the Streets, which eventually went on the album Death and Progress. But that was in 78, I think we wrote that. It's Electric was probably 78 as well. But so we'd written a lot of songs. By the time, I've said this before, but by the time that first album came out in maybe possibly May 1980, we'd written about 100 songs. And yes, some of them were very simple, very basic, just the learning curve, how to get better and better. And they would only be recorded on cassette. We never got to demo them properly or anything. But I'm sure we learned as we went along, bit by bit. And I think It's Electric seemed to stand out as, oh, that's good.
If you could be in a tour van for 8 hours and only listen to one album the entire time, what would it be?
I'd go with Dark Side of the Moon. because I've been listening to that album since probably 1973, and I think it's a work of genius. I think it's a piece of art. I love every track and the way each track flows into each other, especially songs like Us and Them and Time. But yeah, I never get tired of that. I must have listened to that album 200 times anyway. So if I had to hear it another 100 times, fine, bring it on. It's perfect.
How do you feel about the conspiracy theory that it syncs up with The Wizard of Oz? Have you ever tried that?
I've tried it. It doesn't quite. It runs out, doesn't it? It runs out before the film's finished. It's okay. It's a bit of fun, but nah, it's just a weird coincidence. I think there's no way. It's probably difficult enough to put that album together at that point in time in the studio without possibly thinking, let's make it link up to the Wizard of Oz. Are you crazy?
Apparently, once it runs out, you have to start it over again, which is
Oh, is that
where,
right?
yeah, which is where it kind of loses track with me
Yeah,
because how can you make the same record sync up to both halves of the film?
yeah,
But
no,
it's it's fun to do, especially if you have nothing better to do.
yeah,
But it's, I mean, Dark Side of the Moon, you mentioned that you've listened to it at least 100 times. I remember in my senior year of high school, I would listen to it every single day on repeat
right,
for hours. And every time I listen to it, even now,
yeah,
I find something else new. It's such a
yeah.
brilliant piece of art.
It is. It is a piece of art. The album after it is brilliant as well, isn't it? Wish You Were Here. But my favourite will always be Dark Side.
Going into a more of a lighter question, what is the weirdest place that you have ever met a fan?
I don't know. I don't know. They appear from everywhere. They're in airports and on aeroplanes, even. You know, they might walk past me as I'm sitting there, go, "Hey, big fan and like the new album or something." So I haven't got one in mind. Uh, I've got one in mind. I've probably met people in the toilet, though. I've been going to the toilet and I would wander in and go, "Hey, can you sign something?" I'd have to go, "Hang on a minute," or "My hands are wet," or a selfie. I remember having to get from the stage to the dressing room through an audience, at a club show, and so we set off for the dressing room, and there must have been 50 people there, all wanting selfies. So I was being stopped every couple of seconds by somebody else wanting a selfie, and very often they're drunk. And by this point, at the end of the night, 11 o'clock at night, and they forgot how to work the camera, or they've got it on backwards, or the batteries run out, or they give it to a friend. Can you take a picture of me? And and that can go on. And I'm sweaty and thinking, I want to get to the dressing room really and have a drink. But first of all, you've got to do 50 selfies.
If you could go back in time to any show in history, what would it be?
Mm. I've always said I'd like to have seen Jimi Hendrix. So I don't know a specific show. Just a good Jimi Hendrix show would have been nice. Or the Beatles. I'd like to have seen the Beatles. I was 6 years old when they stopped performing. Their last show was Candlestick Park, wasn't it? And I never saw Queen with Freddie Mercury. I went to the Freddie Mercury tribute show in '92, which was brilliant. But I would like to have seen Queen at maybe Birmingham Odeon, whenever that would have been. I've been lucky. I've seen Led Zeppelin and Black Sabbath and U2 and AC/DC and some fantastic acts. Even Prince and Michael Jackson and Bruce Springsteen. But I never got to see, Hendrix, Beatles. I've never seen the Rolling Stones. So yeah, I'll go Hendrix. That would have been something else.
Maybe the show where he covered Sergeant Pepper's Hearts Club Band like
Yeah,
3 days after it was released.
yes, in London, and some of the Beatles were there or something like that. That's ballsy.
If Diamond Head could do a full score for a sci-fi or a horror film, which one do you think it would be?
Wow. Ah. Well, at one point, Raz is into things like that. I mean, I'm a massive sci-fi film fan, and when Dune was coming out, we had a song on the Coffin Train called "The Sleeper," which was based on the film, the original Dune movie and all that. Then we heard about the remake coming out, and we thought it'd be great if we could get the track on the film. I mean, we didn't, but I know if we'd have been offered the opportunity, Raz would have jumped at that. It'd be great. I mean, I love sci-fi, things like Alien or Arrival is a brilliant film, and sometimes I ask people if they've seen Arrival, and they very often say, "No, I haven't seen that." Or The Fifth Element or something. That's a brilliant sci-fi film. There's loads. There's loads. 2001 is fine. I wouldn't want to get involved because it's already incredible. I don't want to spoil it. But yeah, it would be good. I'd probably plump for sci-fi rather than horror.
If you could go back and re-record a Diamond Head album with today's gear and today's and hindsight, which album do you think you would re-record?
I'd probably re-record the Diamond Head album from 2016 because it was done quite cheaply, quite quickly. And compared to the Coffin Train, I think it's lacking a little bit in its scope, in its oral sort of soundscape. And so it's been nice to have had a bit more time on that and a second crack at the whip. Because we re-recorded Lightning to the Nations. I mean, I would have said that one, but because we re-recorded it and released it in 2020, I kind of feel we've done that. So I would go with the Diamond Head album from 2016.
If you could pick out one moment from your career that felt utterly surreal, what would that moment be?
Um, Utterly surreal. Um, Opening for AC/DC was very exciting because we're only young guys at this point. We're like 19 years old, and we get the opportunity to open for AC/DC with Bon Scott. So that was pretty fantastic, and it stuck in my mind. And then, like a week or so later, Bon Scott died. So we ended up doing the last two shows that Bon Scott ever did in January 1980. So that was pretty amazing, surreal. It was kind of weird doing the first Saxon show in Athens 2023 because I'd been learning the stuff at home. Then we did one or two rehearsals. Then it was kind of off you go. Kind of no sound check. A big festival opening for Deep Purple. Or we were on before Deep Purple, one of my all-time favorite bands. And then the guitar tech just drops my guitar over my shoulders, gives me a guitar pick, and then sort of almost pushes me onto the stage. Off you go, do your thing. And then, so my brain is racing for an hour or so, trying to remember all the parts and all the solos and all the little cues and countings and endings, and that was hard. I might have had a few moments during that gig when my brain was on overload and was probably struggling to take it all in. I'm in Saxon. Oh, there's Biff Bifford. And oh, by the way, there's 5,000 people there, and in a bit, Deep Purple are coming on. That was quite something to behold.
All right. I have some kind of lightning round, this or that style questions.
Okay.
So, do you prefer vinyl or cassette?
Ooh, I'd say vinyl. I think the quality's better, and I like the packaging a lot more. Cassette's a little plastic thing, isn't it? Still got cassettes, and I use cassettes to record riff ideas on stuff. If I'm not, if I'm at home, I'll often use a cassette, and I've still got lots and lots of cassettes, even dating back to the very first Diamond days of 1976. I've kept everything, but now I'd probably use my phone. But yeah, vinyl with its artwork and its gatefold and its, you pull out the inner sleeve and it's got lyrics on and pictures and things on it. That's fantastic. I used to read, from cover to cover.
Do you prefer the studio, playing in the studio, or playing live?
I think I prefer live because it's an instant feedback from the audience, isn't it? You play, it's loud, it's exciting. You play the song, and they instantly go, "Hey!" Whereas in the studio, you just might be drop me in for that little bit there, and then have a listen. Is it in tune? Am I rushing it? So it's a bit more analytical, but it is great when you get something right. Like say you've been working on your solo and you get it right and you listen back. But musicians are often racked with insecurity, and even if it's good, you still think that bit should I redo that bit. But it's very hard to let go sometimes. Vocals are the same. I've been there many times with singers, and they do a great take, and everybody there going, "Great, that's great," and then they go, "Let me do one more. Let me do one more." And you go, "It's great. Honestly, you don't need to." And they go, "No, I'll tell you what. We'll do one more." And that gets on. That could go on for hours, So we're all the same. You have to let it go, and go, right. I'm not going to fiddle with it anymore.
All right. Do you prefer riffs or solos?
Riffs. I like to write a good riff, and it can be instant. I could just come up with a good riff like that, or you may spend 6 months and nothing's any good. It's all like a bit. But with a solo, you have to work it out. I feel I like to work them out. I'm not that good at instantly jamming a solo, and it's magnificent. And you presume some bands do that, or guitarists, that they can just on the fly come up with something brilliant, and maybe some can, but I find it better to work it out, and then I try and perfect what I've worked out. So I think I prefer the riff because it's a bit more instant, and I can really dig into it and enjoy it. The repetition, I like the repetition of it going round and round and round.
All right. Beer before or after the gig?
After, 100%. I've never done a gig drunk. I can't do it. I'd make mistakes, and it's really important for me to be satisfied with my performance, and I get satisfaction from that, and I don't want to hinder that in any way. And I wouldn't, if I came off and I'd made loads of mistakes because I'd had a drink, I'd be annoyed with myself, and I think I'm not doing that again. I want to enjoy playing it as nicely as possible. Not nicely, but you know what I mean, clean and tidy, and I'm focused. I've got in-ear monitors, and I'm focused on every little note. The slightest mistake is audible. So I'm very focused. But afterwards, it was a good show. The fridge is full of beer. Why not have one?
All right. If you could bring any beer from anywhere in the world with you on tour and have an unlimited supply, which beer would it be?
I don't know. I like a lot of the Danish beer seems nice. German beer. Uh, if it's a nice cold beer lager, I don't like really heavy beers or really strong beers. Just a refreshing light drink that's you go, ooh, that's nice. But names escape me. I can't think of a one particular beer.
Do you prefer analog gear or digital plugins?
Um, I think for ease of use, digital. It's just quicker and simpler, and you're not fiddling with parameters and knobs, wasting studio time. So often you haven't got the time to fiddle. I mean, we probably did years ago, maybe when you've got an album budget and all that. But these days, I'm more interested in just get the sound and then do the recording, double track the guitars, maybe uh, do an extra part, maybe. So I would go digital for speed, and I love the editing facilities of things like Pro Tools that you could even write up to the mix. You can change the arrangement. You can suddenly go, I think we should have a double chorus there. And you just do it and then go, yeah, that's great. Or no, I don't like it, undo. Whereas years ago, you'd have had to copy the tape, cut the tape. Oh man, we did that. We did a couple of things like that back in the day, and it would take virtually a whole day to do an edit, um, and would cost there's another £1,000 down the drain. So digital.
Black Sabbath or Led Zeppelin?
Led Zeppelin.
That was quick. What's the thinking behind that?
Because they're the greatest band of all time. And Physical Graffiti is the greatest album of all time. And Kashmir is the greatest song of all time. And yes, I love Black Sabbath, but I prefer Led Zeppelin. That's my band.
Uh, Classic rock radio or a pirate metal station?
I'd probably go classic rock radio. I'm a bit more of a 70s guy, I suppose. Most of my favourite bands come from the 70s. Some from the 80s, 90s, but mostly 70s.
Would you rather have a European tour or a Japanese tour?
Oh, well, we've just done both. In February, we toured Europe, and in where are we? Not June, probably April. Yeah, April we toured Japan. They're both great. Um, I've done Europe a lot more than I've done Japan. So if you were offering me two alternatives, I would go Japan just because I've only been there twice and there's more to see. There's a lot more to see. The crowds are fantastic as well. So, there's nothing to not like. It's such a different culture and feel. We went on the bullet train this time as well, which was fantastic. I've never done that before. Osaka to Tokyo.
If you could choose between doing a 80s UK festival or a 2020s European tour, which one would you choose?
Um, I'd go 2020 because in the 80s I wasn't so experienced, and I would have probably been more worried about getting things right and equipment going wrong and things like that. Whereas now I've just had, almost 45 years of experience, almost 50 years of experience, and I've already preempted any problems, and I've done the homework, and I could enjoy it more. I think I could just relax into it and go with the flow.
All right, that is all I have for you.
Okay.
Thank you for the interview.
All right, you're welcome. A different one,
And
different interview. It's
I,
fun.
I'm glad. I'm glad.
Yeah.
We try to aim to be a little different.
Hmm.
Not the same tired old questions about how did you get the band name? How did you? Yeah,
Yeah,
it's. I bet you've been asked a lot of these questions thousands of times at this point. But thank you with meeting with us. I hope you have a good day.
you're welcome. Thank you.